Well, hello there and welcome to our first virtual Amino Connections event. I wish we could be with you all in person in the same room somewhere in the world, but unfortunately we're not. I'm still in my bunker that I've been in now for over 7 months. But we're learning to live with it and we're learning to go on with it. And I hope you'll enjoy today's event. It's an opportunity for us to share with you some of our thoughts, some of the product development. And also we see this as an opportunity to get some feedback from you that can help influence and have some impact on help guide us through our product development and where we put our R&D spend, not just today, but going forward into the future. One of the things we've done is we've looked at really our purpose, why we do what we do, how we do it, and what we do for you. So why we do this, really our purpose in life is to make it easy for people to connect to the TV and the video that they love. And how we do that is by simplifying the complex. And that's what we aim to do for you, to take away that complexity so that you can offer your customers the choice and the convenience that they crave. And finally, what do? Well, we provide a smarter, more cost-effective way of delivering that modern TV experience. And hopefully we can tell you a little bit of what we do today and maybe open the door, but we'd welcome the opportunity to have more in-depth discussions with you, either one-to-one or in small groups. Obviously, going through COVID, it has impacted the business and we've made a lot of changes. I think I'm really proud of the way the whole of Amino group has actually reacted to it, that we've really focused on what we can do for our customers. And we've had to address a lot of challenges. And often those challenges, that simplifying the complex I talked about, comes down to a lot of minor details. And I really appreciate how all of you have worked with us. We've had significant challenges, particularly in the supply chain, but we've been able to overcome those. And I think we've built a lot of resilience into that supply chain to make sure we get our products, our solutions and our services to you. So hopefully today we'll talk about some of those and how our solutions have actually addressed some of the challenges of COVID through an engaged product, the management of devices, offering a better, healthier solution to your end customer. And this is a great opportunity for you to ask us as many questions. Please make this as interactive as you can. And please reach out to me and to the team, however you feel appropriate. So enjoy the session. We'll try and keep it brief and focused, and I hope we get your attention for the full period. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Donald, for that. Okay, so without any further ado, what I'm going to do is to introduce the first proper session today, discussing the future of TV with Rethink, joining Tommy, Philip, myself, and Peggy.
Hi, I'm Peggy Daw. I'm a marketing consultant here at Amino. Today we're going to have a chat with Tommy Flanagan and Phil Hunter of Rethink Research and Jamie McKinley of Amino. So Tommy and Phil, can you just tell us a little bit more about yourselves?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. So I'm the editor of Faultline at Rethink, which is our weekly video and broadband technology analysis publication. I've been here just over 5 years, and we've got a reputation basically for not sugarcoating how tough the future will be.
Super. Phil, how about you?
Yes, well, I've been with Rethink full-time 2.5 years and part-time for 7 or 8 years before that. And for nearly all that time, I've been working on the sort of Faultline and also Rethink TV, which produces forecasts and reports. And 6 months ago, I moved over to Wireless Watch, but I still cover quite a lot on the video side relating to 5G there.
Oh, that's very interesting, actually.
So this particular report that we're talking about was actually the last thing I did when I was with Rethink TV.
Okay, interesting. And Jamie, tell us a little
So
bit
I'm
about
Jamie McKinley. I am the SVP of Sales Marketing for Amino. Good to remember my own job title. Really what I've been doing is helping the business look at how Android, looking at how Linux is evolving, how we're connecting worlds together, the streaming world with the pay TV operator world, and figuring out what the smart and most cost-effective ways of doing that are. And I think that as an organization, we're very keen on helping people make the most of this what can be a really attractive modern video experience.
A lot of the attraction of the streaming model is the flexible subscription model. So what does that mean for the future of video services from the more traditional, cable and pay TV providers? Can they compete with that perceived flexibility? What do you guys think?
I'll start there, I guess. I mean, the obvious answer here is not to compete with the flexibility of SVOD and AVOD platforms at all, but to partner with them and aggregate with them, which is obviously a massive trend. But one of the as we've got straight into aggregation, actually, one of the things I wanted to say about aggregation is that I think operators need to be really careful about the whole super aggregation topic and taking it as gospel, because a lot of people are pushing this idea of super aggregation driven by consumer frustration about OTT fragmentation. I mean, but if you just aggregate the hell out of the service and bombard users with all these third-party streaming services, then really how is that any different to the kind of cable TV packages that are offering hundreds of seldom used channels that consumers are trying to escape from? So I think it's really funny how trends come back around. So my message there, I think, to operators is just to kind of proceed with caution and with your aggregation strategies. Try and keep it simple, keep Netflix and the other big boys happy, embrace a strong data-driven approach, and I think you've got a good foundation for a winning strategy there.
Yeah, is it about not bundling the cost of those extra streaming services? Does that overcome the perceived challenge of aggregation, or your concern about aggregation?
I think bundling and integrated billing to an extent, just not overdoing it. I think simplicity is key.
Yeah, well, one of the things we've seen from looking at the market, this whole super aggregation piece, is not necessarily the aggregated bill, because I think bill shock and all these things, you're right, you're kind of trading one thing for another. Kind of how we view it in some respects is facilitation, and facilitating because you're trying to improve the user experience, but you're also trying to improve performance. And so if you consider that one of the downsides, I think, historically of streaming services has been the kind of unmanaged nature of what's going on in terms of the devices that you're viewing on and being, over the top, if you like, streaming, is that you can't necessarily, you suffer from buffering, you suffer from channel change being slow or whatever it happened to be. So there's the research that we did recently found that actually there was a real demand from consumers to try and get the best of both worlds working together. And I take your point about the billing. I think the billing in some respects is a separate issue, but I think if pay TV companies can facilitate sort of using Netflix or Prime or wherever it have to be, and it's up to the user if they pay or don't pay or whatever happen to be, but it's part of the same system. I think that's quite compelling.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I think the story with aggregation, and I think users welcome some aggregation of the user experience and convenience. They don't want to have to be constantly flicking around. And I think streaming services, at least if you live in an area with good broadband connection, are now good enough. And I think what really is the critical point is that users can add and drop parts of that overall package as readily as and easily as possible, in a way that was difficult with the old bloated cable and satellite TV packages of the past. And at the same time, of course, some of the streaming services don't actually want to be aggregated, so that's another factor to consider.
Right.
They won't all be amenable to being packaged all together.
Yeah, because I think that's the case here in the UK with Sky Q. Their devices with the availability of Disney Plus on their devices, but you have to go to the Disney Plus website to subscribe, and then you do an authentication to get to activate it. So they clearly control the customer at that point.
Right, and that's similar here in the United States as well. So if I access content via some type of an Android device, I can go through the Android device to get the app, but then to authenticate the app, I have to go on a separate device, be it a tablet or a computer or whatever, and put in the authentication codes, or go get the authentication code and then input it to my Android device. So I'm just curious though, so we use this term TV, right? And it very much started being all about just a device. But is it a relevant term anymore? Is TV about a device now? Is TV about an experience?
Well, it's a screen, I think.
Yeah, I think it's about a screen.
People do like a big screen, and to watch sort of premium content with the family or sport occasionally. I mean, I've got quite a big screen that I hear in my office. It's bigger than I need for my work.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, as a term, I've heard people say, and calls from people, that SVOD should now be classified as pay TV because the lines are blurred so much, and a lot of consumers don't know the difference or simply don't care about the delivery mechanism anymore. But I mean, that distinguishing is still important for some people, particularly in B2B. And I think if you'd asked that same question this time last year, I think we would have got some very different answers, I think. But yeah, with all the latest trends and everything that no one could have predicted, I think the TV is more relevant than ever. And the role of the operator in bringing content to the TV, if not directly, then indirectly, I think is more vital than ever.
Yeah, I think the COVID-related lockdowns have had quite a profound impact, haven't they, in the last 6 months, say, on TV. I think usage figures gone right up, streaming figures went right up. And I do agree with you. I don't think the consumer sees any difference at all. I don't think they're really thinking at all about the delivery mechanism. They just want it. They just want their TV whenever however they want it, whenever they want it. The cliche.
Right.
But that's what I think the tolerance level from a consumer for buffering, for poor service delivery, for things taking a long time, difficulty in searching. If you think about those things, our research certainly found that, in fact, we were reading a statistic, I think, the other day about how much time the consumer is having to take on streaming services finding content they want to watch because it's clunky and difficult to use and hard to navigate and all the rest of it.
Yeah, that is still a very big challenge.
It is. Well, if you consider the contrast with, say, an Android TV implementation using voice is really profound. So you could literally sit there and go, take me to series 2 of, Mad Men, and you're there.
Yeah, I think that kind of search does really well when you know what you're looking for. I still think that search is a big challenge when you don't know what you want.
Yeah. Haven't got there yet.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fun to watch those advancements, right? Because with things like AI and machine learning and stuff like that, that'll certainly help move that along.
The other one was this whole editorial piece about kind of curating content and helping you find things. I still think there's the broadcasters, if you like, still have a kind of strong role, I think, in providing seasons, patterns, series. I'm not seeing that diminishing.
So, we at Amino are in the business of providing set-top boxes, but we do also believe in aggregation, particularly, using Android. But is a set-top box still relevant? And I push that question maybe to Phil and Tommy specifically versus all these BYOD devices that are out there.
Well, Phil, I think you should take that one. That was basically the name of your entire report.
Yeah.
Survive.
We were really focusing on what we might call the set-top OS. Sometimes it's called middleware. And the report was split into 2 halves. Really, one was sort of looking at the traditional set-top box, how that's evolving, and what will be the movements in software there with growth, Android gaining market share there, and so on. And then the other half was the connected TV side. And under that, I included not just actual internet connected TV boxes, but also the Roku type devices that enable legacy TVs to be connected to the internet as well. Because there's no real difference as far as the user is concerned. And so in answer to your question, there is a future for the set-top box. I think eventually it is going to be entirely just a piece of software, but I think for the foreseeable future, certainly the next 5 to 8 years, there will still be a continuing market, if slightly declining, for the traditional set-top box, but the big growth in connected TVs as well, which will be accessing services from pay TV operators as well as the streamers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and all the value and is in control and data. I think we'll probably touch on data in a bit more detail, but pay TV operators can't control the phone or the dongle in the same way they can control the set top. And yeah, as Phil said, over the next 5 years or something, it'll be key. But yeah, keeping the viewer in your ecosystem without even giving them a chance to switch devices is crucial. And something we haven't touched on actually is the trend of the set top and the home gateway merging into one device. I mean, that's what sparked the arrival of RDKB, but that's not really been as widespread as I or other people expected. But it's definitely something we're keeping an eye on anyway.
You want to have a high quality experience, particularly if you've invested in a large TV, and you really want that to be fantastic. And so, are you going to get that on your smart TV? And a lot of our evidence suggests that the smart TVs, because they're not managed, they're not particularly upgraded. There's small firmware updates done periodically, but then it's not like it's a set-top box that's been actively managed, is having regular software updates, is being kept up to date. And so suddenly some of the apps stop working, the performance, your remote control doesn't work in the way that you thought it would, etc. And it's just these little things start chipping away at the experience. And I think that we really feel that the tolerance, I think the consumer's tolerance level, as I said earlier on, for things not working effectively is just not there at all. And you really got to, certainly here in the UK, there was mass hysteria as soon as your television is not working perfectly, first time, all the time. Whereas, there's always been this kind of tolerance of streaming services because it's coming in over the internet, you're watching on your laptop, it's not the same, that sort of stuff. But now it is the same. It's just another way of getting your telly or video on your main screen. Actually, they're expecting everyone's expectation levels has gone right up, I think.
So are you arguing then that the smart TV falls between two stools, between the managed set-top and then simply sort of online access to content from your laptop or desktop?
Yeah, I think so, because I think if you're watching something on your big screen TV at home, you're just thinking this is TV.
Yeah.
You're not thinking that I'm watching this on the phone on the bus. And I think I think where the key to that is giving them the user experience and the quality they're expecting, and they're not going to get that unless that's a managed environment.
Especially when it's provided by an operator, pay TV provider. They've been managing the supply chain of feeding video to the home for quite some time, and the set-top box is the end of that supply chain at the end of the day. So their ability to understand what's going on at that device level, is it working, is it not working, in collaboration or in coordination with everything else in that network supply chain is really valuable. So I think that's interesting. So the set-top boxes, so let's assume the set-top box is viable. A set-top box we know is going to stick around for several years. But now there's these new operating systems in them that actually give them much greater flexibility in terms of actually being able to aggregate content from other sources, which is what the consumer wants. And so there seem to be two flavors kind of emerging as the front runners in this, which are Android and RDK. And RDK obviously came out of the US market predominantly to begin with, and most of its presence was in the US market. Android grew greater outside the United States before it started gaining traction here. So is it possible to call a winner or a leader?
Yeah, or... that's what we were looking at, or I was in that report, in a sense.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a standoff. I mean, Android, I suppose, will be the winner, but not everywhere, and not a clean sweep. I mean, we had it at about 24% of global subs by 2025, which I think is about double RDK.
Right.
RDK is going to hold out in North America amongst the cable companies.
Right.
And also in Europe, because Sky is part of Comcast and Liberty Global has also gone their RDK route. That accounts for a lot of subs in Europe in RDK's bag over the next few years. But then Android has been strongly promoted by other satellite operators, such as the Polish ones, and of course by the big telcos like Telefonica and Deutsche Telekom. So,
what do you think about for smaller operators? I mean, I know we always default to the Comcast and the Skies and whatnot of the world, but in fact, a lot of Amino's customers are the smaller, providers.
Well, they will tend to go, and they're more likely to go Android. That's they can do in weekends, even amongst the cable sector. I don't know what probably agrees with that from what we've been finding.
How do you think the pandemic has affected your forecast, Phil? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Well, I'll be perfectly honest. I've been working on wireless since then, so I haven't done the sort of updates that I would have done if I was still on that. But I would have thought, if anything, that would probably favour Android. But
well, I think there's two elements here. One is if they are beginning to go Android because of COVID, it affected new product introduction and platform changes and things like that. So what we've seen in our customer base, there's been sort of people just extending what they do today and carrying on with that and planning for a future in a slightly different way. But we are seeing an uptick in Android. There's no about that. Yeah, and I think just in general terms, we've seen an uptick on this year. Our set-top box sales have gone up quite a bit. In fact, I think we may be in line for our record year. Gold. So, but I think that there is there's still a lot of interest in people at home, even of connecting these different services together and making them work well. And and I think we're helping to do that.
Yeah, I mean, this discussion, I think, has come at a really fitting time. So well done, Peggy and Jamie, for organising it at this time, because we've just had the launch of the new Google Broadcast Stack for Android TV operators here, and at the same time, we've just had RDK4, which came within days of each other. So I think it's a really exciting.
I know we could never have predicted that
for operators. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah. So when IPTV first evolved, everybody said, okay, it's all about the two-way data path, that you can get data back for, about your consumers. And of course, that's one of the benefits that all the direct-to-consumer streaming services have, that, they push content down, they get immediate data back, they no longer have an intermediary in between. So you're a pay TV provider. Did you ever really capitalize on all that data that you were able to get as an IP, in an IP network world? Or how do you capitalize on going forward to continue to stay competitive in this new environment?
Well, yeah, I think it's pretty clear, as you said, that data and AI are going to drive the next generation of TV. And I think this will form the basis of not just your typical data-driven features like recommendations and analytics, but also drive things like delivering on-the-fly UIs and context-aware transcoding, adaptive ads, predictive commerce, voice search, our old friend aggregation, and new methods of monetization, all sorts of things. I think over the next few years, that will evolve into this sort of convergence of AI and cloud TV services where consciously learns about the end user, and from there operators can serve things like tailored bundles and contextual ads, and I think that will ultimately improve the quality of experience.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it will have to be, because that's where the competitive landscape now lies. It's becoming a data-driven business, and so if you don't work out how to analyze the data effectively, then you'll lose out.
Okay, so the lesson is that we have to pay more attention to that data. We have to figure out what data we want, and then make sure we get it, and then make sure we use it.
It's about actionable data. And I think that we've been looking at that, unsurprisingly, quite a bit. And we're creating a lot of data, because we've always been an IPTV business, so we've always had interactive data coming from our platforms. So really what we've been thinking about it in terms today is things like quality of service, quality of environment, looking at making sure that we're helping the customer get the best possible experience. But I take your point. It's not just about recommendations and monetization. I think there's other things. This dynamic interface changes, I think, is an interesting one. And there's quite a few elements to this, but there's no doubt that we're all in the kind of early stages, I think, of really working out how to use data properly, and then how to use that in an effective way. I think is going to be the challenge over the next few years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot easier said than done, which is why we need smart people at vendors like Amino.
Thank you. Thank you.
The good news is we have other smart people.
Yeah, no, we collaborate quite a bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's it for today. I think that's all we have time for. So I just want to thank Tommy and Phil for joining us. Jamie, thanks for being in part of this conversation. And we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Peggy. So that was a great session, and thank you very much, Tommy and Phil, and Peggy, of course, for coordinating that. What we have now is a session where we're beginning to look at the research and data we've pulled together. Peggy Dar is going to be helping us do that. And basically what we've been doing is to ensure that we've got our finger on the pulse. We're conducting quite a lot of research of our clients, and of course, their clients, the viewers as well. We've been looking at all aspects of this, and I'm delighted to introduce Peggy to take you through our research.
Super. Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. So earlier this year, we surveyed both the operators who are our customers and the consumers who actually subscribe to pay TV and OTT services. And I'm going to share some of our findings and how they've helped Amino define its strategy. This was the second annual Voice of the Customer survey. We talked directly with some operators, and then we developed an online survey, which many of you answered. As you can see, despite the rise of OTT services, 86% of pay TV operators do not have plans to turn off their linear services. What we learned is that our customers see the opportunity in integrating OTT content and consider OTT services friends rather than foes. Their goal is to supplement or complement their existing linear services with OTT content. This has been called super aggregation by a lot of folks in the industry. And the end goal is to get subscribers what they want. And that is what you all told us consistently, that your subscribers that are your priority, and that what you want to do is give them what they want, which is a combination of content, better customer service, and an updated user interface, similar to what the OTT services provide. So what type of video services do consumers have? Well, the results of our inaugural Voice of the Consumer survey indicated a very high proportion of consumers are subscribing to streaming services. And the overall percentage of those is higher than those subscribing to pay TV. However, there are some regional differences. As you can see, both in North America and LATAM, approximately 70% still subscribe to pay TV, while pay TV is less prevalent in EMEA and APAC. So what is it that consumers want? They want content. Content is what attracts consumers to any type of video service, whether it's pay TV or streaming. And the consumers are happy to stack their services. Our survey indicated that just over half of our survey respondents subscribe to both pay TV and OTT services, and 77% of those respondents have an average of 1 to 3 streaming services. This isn't really surprising. This number's been out there in the market for a while, but in a recent report actually said that in the United States recently, that number has risen to 3.2 services. That is an increase over last year, and it is likely related to COVID. So what does this mean for Amino? It means that we are focused on helping you, our customers, deliver both linear and streaming services via the set-top box. Both our Linux and Android TV set-top boxes allow you to easily deliver streaming apps from app stores like Metrological or the Google Play Store alongside your linear services. We are able to easily preload YouTube on any of our set-top boxes so that you can easily watch it as well. In fact, we had heard during our survey with our customers that a lot of our LATAM customers really like having YouTube because it's very attractive to their subscriber base. We've also invested in developing relationships with the premium OTT providers so that we can easily load these apps onto our devices. We call this aggregation of linear channels and streaming services Pay TV Plus. This is the ability to deliver all channels. So a channel can be a traditional linear channel, or it can be an app, but you can deliver all of that via the set-top box to the HDMI 1 input. What does that mean? It simplifies everything for your customer because they don't need to toggle between the devices or inputs or anything else. So this is what we're calling Pay TV Plus. You'll hear more about this as we come into the new year. And I want to just mention to you to look out for our Voice of the Customer survey, which we will launch in early 2021. So that's it for me today. And now back to Jamie.
So Peggy, just thank you for that. And there is a lot of quite interesting information there. I was just wondering if we had any questions. So it's from Shores Hendricks at Uphone. How difficult or easy will it be to work with Netflix? Is there interference? Is there interference still needed? I think he means. I think in terms of working with Netflix, clearly we're a member of we're a Hailstorm partner. We technically can implement and preload and certify and test implementing Netflix. The main part I would have said of getting Netflix into your service offering is being able to get a commercial agreement with that, and I think that that remains a Netflix decision. We can't influence that. So I think that with Netflix, as I said, there's two sides to this: the technical piece, which we can implement, but on the commercial side, that has to be done directly with Netflix. Last year, one of the sessions that was the most popular and we got great feedback on was the product management session, where they talked about product strategy and portfolio management and just what we're doing to react to market changes and things like that, and wanted to introduce you to some of our speakers. So Johnny, do you and your team want to turn your video on? And what we're going to do is I'm going to ask our product team to introduce themselves, and then we're going to go into their presentations, and then there is a discussion period. So Johnny, over to you.
Hi folks, so yeah, I'm Johnny McKee and I'm VP of Product Management and Customer Support in Amino. Tim, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Tim Newman. I've probably met some of you before. I'm Director of Product Management at Amino. Bill?
Hey guys, Bill Hughes here, Director of Product Management as well, looking after our Android TV initiatives and also our Engage service management platform. So
first of all, I thought actually looking backwards and looking where the industry's come over the last 10 plus years is interesting, because if we look right back to early 2000s and where we were with zappers and even native middleware, there's long been this desire to bring other services, other apps, and aggregate on the set-top box, and it's been something that's we've had many attempts as an industry at, and it's taken a long time to get there. Those of you with long memories can perhaps are familiar with things like MHEG 5. We've had MHP. We've had we've had HBB TV. It's really only recently when we got to browser middlewares with HBB TV that we started to get any success on third-party apps, app stores, bringing services onto the set-top box platform and moving from the operator simply aggregating video in a head end to operators providing apps and aggregating on the set-top box. And really we've got there, I believe, as an industry with Android TV, which is great. Bill will talk you through a lot about Android TV, where we see that going. But we also need to think about, well, where's the Linux market going to as well? So if we look at this is actually data from Rethink TV. If we look at the market share for the various different operating systems in Europe and North America, you see still Europe is very predominantly a traditional Linux based market. Some Android TV penetration and RDK is tiny. But if we look forward 5 years, based on this research, Linux is shrinking. It's still, the predominant platform, but the life cycle of a set-top box is fairly long, and I think that explains part of that. We see Android TV becoming much stronger in the European market, and we also see RDK becoming significant. And I think that points to some trends. Android is certainly hitting the mark with a lot of operators to allow them to integrate apps, access to app stores, and bring the services to the TV that the subscribers want. RDK, though, is starting now to give these same capabilities on a Linux platform where the operators feel they have more control, and particularly with metrological becoming part of that RDK family now, it gives a lot more ability to aggregate on those set-top boxes. North America is a slightly different landscape. RDK is much stronger there, but that's because of the incumbents and the history of RDK. But Android TV is seeing similar trends. So I think looking at the market, we can see that aggregation on the device, being able to introduce new OTT services is the critical thing for our customers. And that's what we need to be able to support going forward. So we no longer really see the hardware roadmap being driven just by performance. If you look back to the early days, zappers and browsers, it was all about squeezing out the last bit of performance from the hardware. That's no longer the case. We've now got very performant devices. Yes, there's always the drive to make faster and faster chips with more memory. But actually, I see the codec support being driven by the OTT providers. AV1, for example, is obviously in the market now. It's being mandated by YouTube. We see Google driving a lot of hardware requirements, both on the chipset and also the Wi-Fi associated with that. And I think that's where you see the hardware evolution being driven, and we need to make sure that we maintain compatibility with these services that our customers want. And where Amino really add value is where we then wrap around the services, the simplification of the home network, installation, performance, quality, the things that an operator needs to deliver service, because that's really what an operator's business model is. It's receiving a subscription for the service they're delivering. That's where it's quite different from smart TVs and connected TVs. And hand in hand with that is the software strategy then. So I believe our focus really should be in standardization. We embrace the move towards standard APIs and interfaces and platforms that allow third parties to aggregate on the set-top box platform. So we need to align with industry initiatives. And all the time we're trying to enable better service for our operators and for their subscribers and enable cost reduction. If we consider that's our objective, that's where we see the industry going. What does this mean for Amino and for our next generation of products? So Tim, could you talk us through where you see the hardware roadmap going to, and what are the key things for you in bringing these to our customers?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate that. It's actually a good question. Well, over the last several years, we've seen a significant growth and proliferation of the OTT content and providers. For example, YouTube TV has recently passed 3 million paid subscribers, while Netflix has added 28 million more new subs in the first 9 months of this year. This boom is driving the market requirements for better quality of service and delivery. And as a result, the large content and service aggregators are adopting next generation codecs to further improve the quality of service. As you mentioned, Johnny, Google, for example, is mandating for new operator deployments after April 2021 that the Android set-top box includes support for both station AP Wi-Fi mode and AV1 support. Station AP mode is an improved Wi-Fi experience in the home that allows the set-top box to simultaneously act in station mode, which is the client connected to an AP device in the home, which you're used to today, or in the AP mode, thereby providing additional AP device in that home within the same network, improving Wi-Fi coverage. Coupled with that, the addition of the AV1 compression codec, which is the successor to VP9, provides for a better quality video using less bandwidth. YouTube sees this as invaluable as they continue to provide greater volume of 4K content. Other key video codecs being pushed include HDR10+ and Dolby Vision. Both codecs are improvements in video quality, providing greater brightness and contrast, and what that does, that enhances the picture quality. We're actually seeing an uptick in providers such as Netflix, Disney+, and Amazon producing content in Dolby Vision. The result of this all, again, is the quality of the product. And I want to be clear that Amino is working diligently to support these efforts in both hardware and software.
So speaking of software then, the hardware, we need to make sure that we're maintaining a hardware roadmap that is aligned with where we see these major partners in the industry moving. In terms of software then, if I think of Amino OS, I've already shown the figures that demonstrate that while things like RDK and Android will increase their market share, Linux and the traditional Linux implementation is going to be the dominant platform for some time to come. So Amino are not removing any focus from that. That continues to be a very core part of our product strategy. So Amino OS Enable, we will continue to develop and evolve. I see the adaptive bitrate players and HLS and Dash support being things where we can move forward. We need to advance the standard support in both of those. And I think those are the things that we see the most requests from our customers. However, at the same time, I think we have to recognize that RDK is an important now, and increasingly so in Europe as well as in North America. And I see an opportunity here to start to merge the capabilities of Amino OS with RDK. So as RDK gets more widely adopted in the market, we're seeing more chipsets with support. And our strategy longer term is to move in that direction. As we do, I see it as a step-by-step process where we will maintain support for the middlewares which are implemented against our existing APIs like enable.js, and we will bring over support for those middleware platforms onto a hybrid RDK as a transition to looking forward to 2025, where we see more and more dominance of that sort of standardized platform. And as we do that, that will very quickly give our traditional Linux customers the ability to pick and choose the best and the most useful parts from each platform. So allowing operators to use that platform to do aggregation of all of the apps through, for example, Metrological and the WPE browser in that RDK platform. So Amino OS Enable is still very, very important to us. The strategy is about enabling that app aggregation. It's about following the industry's trends. It's about following the standardization, which is now happening, but at the same time maintaining the support for all of our existing customers so that they can transition very easily onto the new hardware that Tim's just described. So that's how I see Linux evolving. Bill, Android really led this trend and really was the first in my mind to achieve the level of standardization required to bring a huge number of apps to the operator market. Do you want to update us now on Android, where it is today as a platform, and where you see this going next?
Yeah, so I think probably the best thing to do is to move to the next slide there, where we have some updates from the Android Bootcamp. So every year, if you guys aren't aware, Android holds what they call a boot camp. They do it for the mobile sector, and they also do it for Android TV. And this was back in June, July this year. This year it was virtual, so it was the first time. Usually everyone travels out to California, but this year it was virtual. And there was a lot of takeaways. I mean, really, we're looking at the roadmap for Android. We look at what Google is telling us is coming up and what's going to be new. So some of the key takeaways, and these were the hardware ones were mentioned earlier and a few times in this session, and rightfully so, because they had a big impact on our roadmap overall. So AV1 codec support was mentioned here a few times. So obviously this is a royalty-free codec that that Google is pushing, and I think that's a great thing to see that the industry is moving towards royalty-free codecs. But it does require new silicon, right? So this required us to go and find a new chipset that will be able to support this in the future. Now, one of the key things here is that we're saying these are new hardware requirements for new certs. So anybody that's using the Amigo 7X-V2 today, they're not required to meet these certifications going forward. It's only if we are, as Amino, to certify a new product in the future or do a new certification for a customer that we're onboarding, we have to meet these requirements. So we knew we were going to need to support these for new customers. So AV1 codec support. And then also, as Tim mentioned, and this one really caught us this year because I think AV1 codec support was mentioned the year before, but concurrent SDA AP Wi-Fi support was a new one, and that was kind of a surprise to us. And these were the first time that Google actually put a date to it. So we know that Android 11 is going to require the support for this, and Android 11 certifications are required in April 1st. So any new products going to be certified by April 1st of 2021 are going to require these two features. So that definitely kept Tim busy for a little while with the hardware roadmap for sure. And we've got a good plan behind that now. And then they listed a number of Android 11 improvements as well, enhanced memory management, which I can tell you from past experience going to Android O, there was a lot of memory issues in that. And when we saw they Google revamped the memory management in Android 9, drastic changes and huge performance. And you can see with some of the other things that are coming up later here in the bullet points that they're going to need this extra memory power in the future. They're also implementing one-time privacy permission. So this, I understand, is more of like an umbrella privacy permission where you select it once and then you don't have to keep saying, I agree to this for every single app that you're going to install going forward and for all the updates. So that's simplifying things for the subscriber. And then a key one, which is really exciting, is auto low latency mode and extended gamepad support. I put these two together because they really relate to the introduction of Google Stadia, which, if you don't know, is Google's online gaming ecosystem that they're really trying to ramp up now. And I think that most of the roadmap is really being driven by this. So low latency mode required for video gaming, obviously. And then the gamepad support. They already have a good list of supported gamepads, but they've added the Nintendo Switch and the Steam controller as required to be supported. Also mentioned earlier today was the new tuner framework. This is the one that they've licensed from Technicolor. So this one is something we're taking a look at in earnest because we have also developed our own DVB stack. So we're taking a look at the differences between the Google DVB stack and how that might be advantageous for us to look at going forward. And also updates to MediaCAS. I've yet to see exactly what those updates are, but it's going to be very interesting because I will say that MediaCAS in part of our Apollo stack has always been about introducing and integrating the legacy DRM vendors. And we haven't seen that nut be cracked yet by Google. So that's something that Amino has been working very hard at, making sure that Verimatrix, for example, is supported. And we're looking at a lot of other DRM integrations as well that we're working on currently. And then lastly, they have some extensions to the hardware abstraction layer implementation of CEC support. And I took a look at this, and it mainly looks like it's about gathering data from the CEC port in a way that is it's more common across all different platforms. So right now we're doing a lot of that work on our own, but it will be much more standardized going forward. So a lot of interesting things. I think the most interesting thing is probably the Google Stadia support and also the enhanced memory management.
Thanks, Bill. I think that's really interesting. I think it's great to see Google, looking at the DVB stack and simplification of the CAS integration. And it'll be interesting to see how that develops over the next 12 months. So we've talked about service and simplification, and cost reduction, an important part of our products and our direction. Tim, how does this relate then to our hardware products?
Sure, Johnny, you're just full of good questions today. So let's be real, the last year has been really tough on many of us, and as such has provided new and greater challenges to the operators. As a result, with the viewing on devices, including the TV, actually increasing, the task to an operator to a successful deployment of those services. One area Amino has continued to look at and offer is increased support for self-installation. From the set-top box and hardware side, we've introduced in some cases a self-install wizard to allow the subscriber an easier means to connection of service. The self-install wizard is really just a step-by-step on-screen process that walks the sub through the setup. And then coupled with that, Amino also took a really deep look at our user guides, for example, and come up with better view and means to also facilitate that setup ease. And frankly, it really doesn't just end there. Amino's also been working very closely with our remote control vendors to introduce such features as simple setup and learning modes, decreasing the need for the subscriber to have, for example, if you remember those days of having to manually enter up 9 to 10 TV codes to try to find the right one for that manufacturer, and it was always that last one or it wasn't there. The simple setup does that work for you. So it really improves that process from a subscriber standpoint and ease of use. And again, the self-install cost doesn't just end there with the set-top box or the remote control, but rather the award-winning Engage service from Amino can further assist in self-installation and can help lower costs. Bill, question for you would be, to kindly share that value proposition.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, we've got setup wizards both in Enable, which we developed in-house, and so far really great reviews about that. I think we had a customer in Europe that was telling us they were seeing a 90+% successful self-install rate. I think Jamie has the actual figures there, but really, really good for them in terms of cost savings, and not having to roll a truck and take a technician out. And this is before COVID, about being able to do that. And then the great thing is, well, on Android, we also, we take advantage of their self-install wizard as well. And then the idea behind those self-install wizards is to take the complicated things, pairing a remote control and getting the Wi-Fi connected. Once you're at that point, it's not like the device is just on its own and the subscriber's on its own. Now you're in the hands of our Engage solution. And that means you can do proactive support with these customers, or I should say reactive support with the customers using our service and support module. So you can see what the subscriber is seeing on their screen. You can take control of that. And we've heard that is actually assisting in the self-install as well, especially where some of the elderly generation, for example, go through the setup wizard. There's multiple steps after you get the internet connected that you still need to go through and assign your Google account if you like, and that can be confusing to certain demographics. So we've heard that this is actually a great tool from the operators, that if anyone gets stuck in those steps, they just pick up the phone and the operator can walk them right through it. The subscriber's not having to wait for a technician to come out. So there's a lot of frustration that's relieved there. And the operator's saving on the money of not having to roll a truck. And then there's a whole other bunch of use cases.
Yeah, Bill, just to reiterate what you were saying earlier on about the self-install wizard, one of the operators that we had implementing our Linux boxes with self-install wizard earlier in the year, before COVID, we're getting this is a new service offering, we're getting a 90% self-install, no engineer visit required. And in that 10% that they weren't getting right, they were getting remote inquiries and coming in through Engage, and they were using our Engage system, as Bill said, that kind of remote support where the customer service agent could actually see the interface of the EPG of the customer, of the viewer, and to solve the problem. And in many cases, it was quite simple problems that they were solving, but it would have been very hard to do that if you couldn't have seen what the customer was seeing. And in fact, that was so successful that they in fact got incredibly strong NPS scores during that process. And normally you'd expect with a new service introduction to have kind of, in some cases, mixed NPS scores as people find problems or have problems absorbing the new service. But in fact, it was quite the reverse, and they did brilliantly.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. I knew you had those numbers on the top of your head. Yeah, so you know, looking at the roadmap on where we're going with that is really focusing that now on enhancing the performance of those solutions. So reducing the connection times, adding more diagnostic information to the screen. So we're always looking at improving that. And I encourage anyone that's on this webinar or anyone who listens to it later to definitely reach out to our support teams. Let us know if there's things that you say, man, if this tool had X, Y, or Z, it would be even much better. I mean, the whole product was developed by our customers, so that's great.
Can I ask there's a quick question, Bill, from our audience, and a question for you from Frank. In regards to Google Stadia, is AV1 codec a hard requirement, or is it yet to be determined?
I haven't heard the two links, so I don't want to say for sure. I have not heard that AV1 was going to be required for Google Stadia, but I can check that for you, Frank, and I'll follow up.
Yeah, we've got that logged, Frank. We'll get back to you on that.
It's a good question.
Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, no problem. And then I'd say, in terms of roadmap, the last area where we're focused is on our analytics module, and this is going to be definitely a key focus for 2021. We're now starting to see that part of it being used for proactive support. So, trying to find those problems before a customer calls. So we have set-top boxes that are, for example, consuming all the memory constantly, and we can give alerts to the operator about that. And they can call the subscriber and try to figure out what's driving that. And then they can take the next step to log into the box and look at the memory consumption on that. So it's really a great solution for that. So we're really looking over the next year to enhance that, make it a lot more powerful in terms of the alerts that you're getting, you streamline the user interface. So there's going to be a lot of focus on that in 2021. So really kind of where we're driving our roadmap over the next year on Engage.
Thanks, Bill.
Guys, can I ask you a question? Clearly, we are seeing quite a lot of change in the market, and there's a lot of change going on seemingly in video software, in the video middleware. Minerva upgrades, Mobi entering the market, change like that, as well as Android coming into the mix. How do you see us? How are these changes affecting us?
Well, I think if we look at some of these, you mentioned pretty major upgrades of the middleware. One of the things that we've done, which has been able to really facilitate this, is upcycling. So we have a program, and I'm sure some of our other webinars we talk about this, of upcycling the legacy set-top boxes. So boxes that have been deployed for maybe 7-8 years. They were deployed running multicast, very traditional IPTV and closed networks. And then we want to launch next generation services with OTT services, adaptive bitrate, DRMs, technology that was never even invented in some cases when those boxes were first deployed. We've used the capabilities we have with Amino OS, where we evolved that product. We put the new features, the new protocol support into that product, and then through the other functions that we have. So for example, using Engage to manage the upgrade and the migration process, we're able to deploy these new protocols, new support on those devices that are an enabler for major upgrades, like putting on a completely new middleware, which is cloud-based, using adaptive streaming. It's no longer in a closed network. So that's one major one. I see a few of those initiatives going on. I think it's it's testament to the power of Amino OS that we can continue to evolve the capabilities of hardware, which is now really getting quite old, and create very modern looking services on that hardware.
Yeah, and one of the other things, and possibly this is a question for Tim or Bill about Android, is that we're just about to implement our first hybrid customer in Europe, with Android going with our Amigo set-top box with a cable tuner in it. Is that what is the support for tuners, and and what other types of tuner can we support in our Amigo boxes where we're leveraging Android?
Well, we obviously have DVB-C for the customer that we're working with, and I think that's where our initial focus is. The good news about that is that there's a lot of overlap between DVB-C and ATSC, for example. Yeah. And QAM. So a lot of that work can be easily copied and replicated. So there are a number of other initiatives that we're looking at, potentials, I would say. We'll let Tim speak to the roadmap on hardware, but we've been asked by quite a few about, hey, how does the ATSC look? Is that something we should be considering for the roadmap of our products? And also the QAM space is something we watch, although I think at this point we're seeing most of the guys who are deploying QAM are looking very seriously at IPTV, and when they think about Android TV, they're thinking IP. So I think that's where we're going.
Yeah, and Jamie, I'll just add that, as Bill noted, that our product today supports DVB-C, but it's actually a software switchable tuner for DVB-C and DVB-T2. So we also have a terrestrial support within the current product. But as Bill said, we're actively looking at whether ATSC makes sense. The good news is, from a product perspective, from a hardware perspective, it's not a significant challenge to offer that in terms of that type of product. Right. And we could go forward with that, but as Bill noted, we're taking a deep dive into it.
Yeah, and I think it's worth just mentioning, Bill touched on it a few minutes ago, with Google licensing that Technicolor stack for DVB. And this aim to simplify the CAS integrations. I think that's an interesting initiative, and we're in the middle of looking quite deeply at that to see if that is the direction that the industry is going to go with Android. Certainly, if it simplifies, it's much better we all focus on adding value, delivering services, than implementing decades-old protocols and parsing tables in DVB. Let's get it standardized. Let's use the technology that's being standardized across the industry, and let's all focus on delivering service.
There's another question in the system from Augusto. Old IPTV multicast support would be included on new products. Is it on your roadmap? Android TV would be able to play multicast. What's our story in there?
Yeah, we, on all of our Linux products, all of our legacy products, old IPTV multicast, as you describe it, good description. It's there. It's going to stay there for a long time to come. Even where we see people deploying HLS and Dash, we often see a hybrid. So a hybrid of multicast channels plus unicast. It gives efficiency. It allows you to transition from one technology to the next. And that's partly why we built multicast support into Android TV as well, because it allows our traditional customer base to transition to Android TV. Bill, anything you want to add on that, on the Android piece?
No, I just wanted to make it clear that yes, we do have support today for multicast IPTV in Android TV. So yeah, that is something we definitely plan to support going forward.
Yeah, I don't see that going away for some time. Again, legacy technologies are hard to change out. They will continue to exist for some time to come.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for that. I think that was a really, really useful session, and that was very revealing. And certainly, if anyone has further questions, please do email us. But we'll probably now move on to the last session we've got, which is customer support. So this is the first. This is a new session for us, and what I want to do is to introduce you to Alonso Raymer. So Alonso, can we see you? There we are. Delighted to have you on board, and this is an important session. We're doing a lot in support. We're doing a lot in customer success. So I'd be delighted to hear from you. Please introduce yourself, and I'll get the slides ready.
Hello, everyone. As Jamie mentioned, my name is Alonso Reimer. I'm the global head of the customer support. So I started this position at the beginning of this year. One of the main goals of the creation of this position is to maintain a customer satisfaction and also to bring you a positive support experience. So I have been working with our support engineers to provide the best-in-class customer service. I also have been working since I started the position on improving our support metrics to bring the greatest support possible. So in a survey done at the beginning of 2020, we found that 82% of our customers agree that their main challenge is to resolve the support issues quickly. So Amino has worked on improvement that will give you a better response and also to improve your experience. So as part of this improvement, Amino created the position of the global head of the customer support. The idea of this is to plan and coordinate global support strategies and also to keep improving our customer support satisfaction. We also have been working on the customer success program. The idea of this is to keep improving our client's overall experience with Engage or cloud-based service management solution, and to help you to better use this management tool. Another great success that we have done recently is the creation of our new ticket system reports and metrics. So now we're running weekly reports to improve the monitor and follow-up of our tickets and also to reduce our backlogs and to get better metrics for help you better. We also have been creating new reports to measure better our support team performance and to organize our team better to help you to resolve escalations and help you with support issues. So we're also very glad that these new metrics and report have helped us to create a big impact in our latest metric results. So we're very proud of that. These improvements are helping our clients in a positive way. Regarding the customer success program, in the past months, we have been working on our customer success program. So all our support engineers have been contacting our client or engaged clients globally. The idea of this is that we wanted to help you to understand the full potential that Engage is bringing to the table. So as part of this program, we also have collected valuable information that our product management team and also the engineering team are using to improve our Engage solution. And also, we want to use this data that we have collected to bring new features in the next releases. So the idea is that these Engage tools are going to be helping you to reduce costs and also to work more efficiently. So this is why we want to keep this program open, and we're working also on new ideas to continue this customer success program for the next year, 2021. So something important that I want you to know is that we really like to have your feedback. So if you have any questions or any suggestion, contact our support team. We're going to be glad to work with you and bringing you new trainings and also demos on all the modules that the Engage solution can offer you. Regarding to the support metrics, so since I started this position, we have created these new reports and metrics, and we're very proud that this has improved our support performance by a great margin. So, for example, we have reduced our ticket response time and our median resolution time worldwide. We also want to make sure that you receive the best-in-class customer service. So we are constantly working on improving our metrics to enhance your customer satisfaction. Regarding the support roadmap, so this Amino has been able to bring positive changes to our support department even when we had a difficult year. So what we want to do is we want to continue this improvement for next year. So we're bringing also new ideas, and between those ideas, we want to keep working on improving our support metrics and also improving your customer experience. So something new that we will be bringing is more value in our support contracts. For example, we will be bringing you direct phone support. We believe that this will create a big impact on the resolution time. So we know that email sometimes is not the best way to communicate. So we want you to be able to contact our engineers directly and solve your problems more easily, and also have a better communication with you. We're also working on quarterly health check reports that will come with the silver contract. So the idea of this health check report is to check the status of your devices and to make sure we take proactive measures to prevent. We're also working on improving your experience with major software updates. So the idea of this improvement is to minimize the risk and also concern that you might have with these updates. So we want to bring you a smoother transitions to the new version. So in the next weeks, we will start announcing some of these changes. So the idea is that you experience these improvements since the beginning of next year. So I'm going to be very excited to work with you and also to keep improving your support experience. So that's all from me today. So thank you, everyone. I will pass you now back to Jamie.
Great, thanks, Lon. So in fact, I was just going to invite everyone to rejoin me just as we wrap up, just in case there are any questions. So I guess that's it. That's our agenda for today. Thanks for joining us. We realised that certainly 2020 was definitely not the year we thought we were going to be having this year for a variety of reasons. I'm sad that we weren't able to do this face to face, and normally this would be the time we'd all be retiring to the bar for a well-earned refreshment and dinner and a catch up. Clearly we're missing that, but we're hoping that we're going to see you all in person, we hope, very soon, and that would be great to think that. I want to say thanks very much to all of the team who've done such a great job today and preparing for this, making sure the event runs smoothly, even with poor operator performance by me. I'm really glad. So thanks so much. It was great. Great to have you on board. Please contact us if you have any questions. We'll be back in touch, and we will of course be making the video available to you shortly, as soon as we've edited all my bits out. Stay safe, and we'll look forward to catching up with you soon.